this isn't working. So clearly we actually need to pause and figure out what's going on. Hey y'all, it's Chimdi. Cheers to us. So I'm actually drinking water out of this champagne flute, and I'm doing it because I realized when it comes to using substances as a creator, I mostly just care about the vibes. And I can get the vibes often just using the instrument, right? Like I don't actually need to be drinking alcohol or rosé. If I'm just holding the glass, like I'm in the vibe, like I'm feeling it, right? And this video is actually inspired by Lynette Atkins. She made a recent video about our mindset, and in the comment section, a lot of people referenced how they appreciated this idea of like, you know what, sometimes you just gotta smoke, right? Like you're doing your best, and sometimes you just like, I gotta smoke something, right? And then someone else mentioned, you know, I used to do a lot of drinking and then I stopped. It's been maybe 7 days and now I have all this creativity flowing out of me. And it just made me realize that this is something that a lot of people are walking through and working through. And I know I made a video on my channel where I talked about my journey with weed, and I feel really grateful because it's just not a major thing in my life anymore. I couldn't tell you when I smoked last because it's been so long, and it's not a sort of thing where I'm like kind of walking with it every single day. And my creativity has been great and really fun and flowing, and there hasn't been like that anxiety around creating. You know, there's stuff that comes up, of course, but I don't feel the need to turn to a substance to take care of it. And so I just want to reflect on this idea of, you know, how we leverage substances in our creative journey. And I think what's really interesting is that there's a whole broad spectrum of things that are exogenous, we can say. Like I have a friend who does Kambo, which is not a drug, they insist, but it's something you like put on your skin all over it, and then you like purge really intensely, and it helps you move through blocks, right? You know, things like mushrooms. Some people are like, no, that's medicinal, right? So there's like a huge range of things that we leverage in our life. And I do think the point is to just be honest with ourselves about why we're using those substances. I live here in Mexico, and I got to meet someone whose whole job is helping people with the integration process after they use one of those substances, right? And I met someone else who said they sat with ayahuasca something like 70 times, which to me seems like 69 more times than I would ever feel comfortable sitting with ayahuasca. And I haven't even sat with it once, right? Because I know it can lead to a lot of really deep processing, right? And I think the more honest we are about what we need and why we think we need it, and I think the broader context really is like, what is the rush, right? What is it that we are trying to get to and hurry up and get to, that the natural unfolding is uncomfortable? And I found that in my experience, the more I can sit with the part of me that's trying to move things forward and connect to that part of me, connect to her, almost always there's fear. There's just some really deep fear, and whatever's happening in my external life is pointing and poking at it. And instead of being with the fear, I listen to the part of me that's saying, get up, go, run, make more videos, reach out to more clients, get more jobs, move across the country, like whatever the thing is. Instead of me taking a pause to hear like how that voice feels, I'm just listening to what that voice says, taking it at its word and acting upon it. And almost always I find that I only recreate the very energy that the voice was coming from, and then it essentially has to get to the point where I'm like, this isn't working. So clearly we actually need to pause and figure out what's going on. And also part of why I'm doing this video is because I just recorded another video where I talked about how you can effectively batch record as a creator. And I said I would go to another creator's channel, be inspired by their YouTube comments, and just come on here and start talking and make a video. So I don't have any notes about this video. I truly am on here to yak with you all. And I just want to reflect again on, you know, what it means to really trust that what you have to say is enough, right? I think part of why we look to anything outside of ourselves is because we think we need it. We think how I am now, my energy right now, my productivity right now, my relationships right now, my experiences right now, it's missing something, it's lacking something. All I need is a little bit of this and I'll have the calm I need to move forward. I'll have the love, the acceptance, the spaciousness, right? I'll be free from the anxiety, and then I can move forward. And I think what has been in my experience is that it always works in the short term. If it didn't work, we wouldn't do it, right? So it always works in the short term. And then essentially it becomes less and less effective until we actually need to look at the source of what's really going on. And I think the amount of grace that we give ourselves on that journey, it allows us to actually meet that part of ourselves with love, right? And I also want to name that I'm finding it hard to keep talking about this. You know, I had this video about smoking weed go viral on my channel, and because, you know, when you have a viral video, we're supposed to turn it into a series so you can keep getting subscribers and viewers and all these things. And what I found is that I've sort of reached this point where it's not such a big deal for me. And so there's like nothing else in the well for me to talk about, because I feel like I've kind of said everything that I need to say about it. But I know not everyone is at that place in their journey. And so for me, it sort of feels more respectful to say, well, I'm not gonna say anything at all versus sort of talk without giving value. But what I've realized now as I'm saying this is that part of the value is to follow the journey even beyond maybe the original reason, you know, you followed someone. So for instance, when I quit my job, part of the value of that series and me continuing to create on YouTube is that folks can watch that video from years ago and then be like, okay, how is Chimdi doing now? It's been years. Is she okay, right? How is she doing? And I'm like, oh, it's the same thing for weed, right? It's like, oh yeah, so you used to smoke a lot, you quit, you relapse, you quit, you relapse. How are you now? And it's like, I'm good. I'm really good, you know? I also made a series on here about getting eye surgery. And years later, folks are like, so how are your eyes? And I'm like, they're good, right? They're good. And so I think that process of just checking in and continuing to show up, it actually does a lot for people. And I also think that's another affirmation that where you are right now and what you're experiencing right now is of tremendous value, because you don't know where other people are and how where you are in your life is something that they are working towards, aspiring towards. And so what you take for granted as normal is someone saying like, okay, one day I'll be at the point where I'm not even counting how many days it's been since I smoked last. I'm not even like thinking about smoking before I start a creative project. I'm not even, you know, spending that money. Like I have totally different financial goals. All of these things can shift and you can be in a totally different place in your life. And you just sharing where you are can be that gift for someone else. And I think that's like one of my favorite things about being a creator and why I'm so passionate about supporting other creators is because just their story blesses people. And it's not because it doesn't need to be fancy or dramatic, it's just their existence. And I'm like, wow, like that's really, really cool. Just you having your experience, it's inherently inspiring. So if you want some support showing up consistently and creatively, I'm a one-on-one coach. You can find me at chimdieheze.com. And if you want some community and you want some free coaching, you can join the Hello Creator calls every Wednesday at noon Eastern time. All right, bye.